I'm in love with someone else, Donald, and I don't care what you think, declared Maria, my wife, holding the phone with his messages. I smiled calmly. Great, because I just froze our joint accounts. Her face turned pale when she realized that her perfect plan had just fallen apart. Donald's keys jingled as he unlocked the door to his Coral Gables home, the Miami sunset casting long shadows across the driveway. The day had been brutal, endless spreadsheets and client calls as a financial analyst. He expected a quiet evening, maybe a beer with Maria, his wife of 6 years. Instead, she stood in the living room, arms crossed, her phone clutched tightly. "We need to talk, Donald," she said, her voice sharp, slicing through the hum of the AC. He set his briefcase down, sensing the weight in her tone. "What's up?" he asked, keeping his voice steady. Maria, 32, a marketing specialist, stepped closer, her eyes cold. "I'm done. I want a divorce. I'm in love with someone else." The words hit like a sucker punch, but Donald didn't flinch. He'd noticed her late nights, the secretive glances at her phone, the way she dodged questions about her work events. He'd suspected an affair, but hearing it confirmed was different. "Who is he?" Donald asked, leaning against the counter, his tone calm but probing. Maria hesitated, then lifted her chin defiantly. "Ryan, from work. He's everything you're not." The jab stung, but Donald only nodded. "Do what you want, Maria," he said, turning to grab a water from the fridge. Her jaw dropped. She'd expected a fight, tears, maybe begging. Instead, his composure threw her off balance. "You don't care," she snapped, stepping toward him. "I'm leaving you for him. And you're just fine?" Donald met her gaze, his expression unreadable. "You've made your choice. Why drag it out?" He took a sip, the cold water grounding him as her words echoed in his head. Maria's confidence wavered, her fingers tightening around her phone. She'd rehearsed this moment, but his reaction wasn't in her script. That night, while Maria slept in the guest room, Donald sat at his desk, laptop open. He wasn't about to let her blindside him. He called Jake, his college friend and lawyer, the phone buzzing twice before connecting. "Jake, she's leaving me. Says she's in love with some guy named Ryan. I need to protect what's mine." Jake's voice was steady, professional. "Send me everything, bank statements, property deeds, prenup. We'll lock it down." Donald emailed the documents immediately, including the title to the house, which he'd quietly refinanced in his name alone last year. Digging deeper, he logged into their joint bank account. Small, sneaky withdrawals caught his eye. $500 here, $1,000 there, transferred to an account he didn't recognize. Maria had been siphoning money for months, likely funneling it to Ryan. His jaw clenched, but he didn't panic. Instead, he called the bank, freezing the joint account with a few clicks. "Let's see how your new life starts without cash," he muttered, closing the laptop. The next morning, Maria sat at the kitchen island, scrolling her phone, oblivious to Donald's moves. He poured coffee, breaking the silence. "Got a place lined up yet?" She froze, her thumb hovering over the screen. "I'm staying here until the divorce is settled," she said, her tone daring him to argue. Donald smirked, setting his mug down. "This house is mine, Maria. Legally. You're a guest, and guests don't set the rules." Her eyes widened, but she didn't respond, her fingers twitching nervously. Later that day, Donald found Maria's laptop open on the couch. A message from Ryan flashed on the screen. "Need another $2,000 for the deal. Trust me, babe, it's our ticket out." Donald's stomach turned. Ryan wasn't just a fling. He was a leech, banking on Maria's money. He snapped a photo of the screen, forwarding it to Jake. "Add this to the file," he texted. The prenup, signed before their wedding, was clear. Infidelity meant Maria got nothing. He'd make sure it held. Maria's behavior grew erratic as the day went on. She paced the house, whispering into her phone, unaware Donald was listening from the hallway. "Ryan, I can't get the money right now," she hissed, her voice tight with panic. "He's acting weird. I think he knows." Donald stepped into view, and she fumbled the phone, ending the call. "Who's Ryan?" he asked, feigning ignorance. "Nobody," she stammered, too quick, her eyes darting away. He smiled faintly, letting her squirm. That evening, Donald met Jake at a downtown Miami bar. Over whiskey, Jake laid out the plan. The prenup's airtight. The house, your savings safe. Her transfers could be fraud. We'll use that if she fights. Donald nodded, his mind racing. Maria thought she could walk away with half his life, but he was steps ahead. She's betting on this Ryan guy, Donald said, swirling his drink. He's trouble. I check him out. Debts, failed startups, the works. Jake raised an eyebrow. Then she's in for a rude awakening. Back home, Maria was packing a suitcase, her movements frantic. Going somewhere? Donald asked, leaning against the doorframe. She glared, zipping the bag shut. I'll be out soon enough. He shrugged, unfazed. Take your time, but don't expect a key. Her face flushed with anger, but she said nothing, storming past him. Donald watched her go, knowing her world was about to crumble. He'd given her stability, a home, a life, and she'd thrown it away for a fantasy. Now, he'd make sure she faced the consequences, legally and without mercy. Donald woke to the sound of Maria's suitcase wheels scraping the hardwood floor. She was dragging it toward the front door of their Coral Gables home, her phone tucked under her ear, voice low but urgent. Ryan, I'll figure it out, she whispered, unaware Donald was watching from the kitchen. He sipped his coffee, calculating his next move. Last night's discovery of her secret transfers, thousands siphoned to Ryan's account, had hardened his resolve. She wasn't just leaving. She was trying to take everything he'd built. He opened his laptop, checking the bank's confirmation. The joint account was frozen, and Maria's access was cut off. Her latest attempt to withdraw $3,000 had been blocked. Donald smirked, imagining her reaction when she'd find out. He texted Jake, his lawyer. She's still moving money. Can we trace it? Jake replied instantly. Already on it. Send me her latest bank activity. Donald forwarded the transaction logs, each one a nail in Maria's plan. Maria stormed back into the kitchen, her phone now silent. Why can't I access our account? She demanded, slamming her hand on the counter. Donald leaned back, unfazed. Because it's frozen. You've been pulling money without telling me. Her eyes widened, but she recovered quickly, forcing a laugh. You're paranoid. I was just reorganizing. Donald raised an eyebrow. Reorganizing for Ryan's big business deal. Her face paled, and she turned away, unable to meet his gaze. Later that morning, Donald drove to his office in downtown Miami, the skyline gleaming under the sun. He met Jake at a corner cafe, handing over a USB drive with screenshots of Maria's messages to Ryan, pulled from her unsecured laptop. He's promising her a new life, but he's drowning in debt, Donald said, sliding the drive across the table. Jake scanned the files, nodding. This is gold. With the prenup and her transfers, she's got no leverage. We'll file for divorce today. Donald exhaled, the weight of 6 years with Maria lifting slightly. Back home, Maria was pacing the living room, her suitcase still by the door. She hadn't left, clinging to the idea she could negotiate her way out. Donald, we can split things fairly, she said, her tone softer, almost pleading. He set his keys down, fixing her with a steady look. Fair? Like when you funneled our savings to Ryan. Her mouth opened, then closed, her confidence crumbling. I know everything, Maria, he added, walking past her. You're not getting a dime. That afternoon, Donald hired a private investigator, a contact from a past client. Dig into Ryan Carter, he instructed over the phone. I want his financials, debts, anything shady. The PI promised results within 48 hours. Meanwhile, Maria's phone buzzed constantly. Texts, calls, all from Ryan. Donald caught snippets as he passed her in the hallway. You promised me the money. Ryan's voice crackled through the speaker before she muted it, her hands shaking. She was unraveling, and Donald wasn't about to let up. By evening, Jay called with an update. We've got a paper trail. Maria's been sending Ryan cash for months, and he's tied to a failed startup in Orlando. No assets, just loans. Donald leaned against his car in the driveway, processing. File the divorce papers. Cite infidelity and financial misconduct. Jake agreed, adding, she'll be served tomorrow. The prenup protects the house and your savings. She's got nothing to stand on. Donald nodded, a plan forming. He let Maria think she had control, then pull the rug out. The next morning, Maria was on the phone again, her voice rising. Ryan, I can't get the money now. He's locked me out. Donald stood silently in the doorway, watching her panic. When she noticed him, she hung up, her eyes darting nervously. You're enjoying this, aren't you? She snapped. Donald shrugged. You chose this game, Maria. I'm just playing it better. He handed her a printed copy of their prenup, highlighting the infidelity clause. Read it. You signed it. Her hands trembled as she took the paper, her bravado gone. That afternoon, The PI emailed a report. Ryan Carter was a con artist. Multiple bankruptcies, a trail of unpaid debts, and a history of latching onto wealthy partners. Donald forwarded the file to Jake, who whistled over the phone. This guy's a parasite. Maria is betting on a loser. Donald agreed, his mind racing. He'd confront her soon, but not yet. Let her dig deeper, he thought, knowing Ryan would drain her dry before disappearing. Maria tried a new tactic that evening, sitting across from Donald at the dinner table. Maybe we rush this, she said, her voice sweet, calculated. We could work things out. Donald cut her off, his tone flat. You don't get to rewrite the story now. You chose Ryan. Her eyes glistened, but he felt no sympathy. She betrayed him, and now her perfect escape was collapsing. He stood, leaving her alone with the prenup papers, her signature staring back at her. As night fell, Donald sat in his office, reviewing the PI's report again. Ryan's latest scheme was a fake real estate venture, promising Maria a cut if she funded it. Donald laughed coldly. She'd learn the hard way. He texted Jake, serve her tomorrow. I want her out. The response was immediate. Done. She'll be gone by the weekend. Donald leaned back, the Miami skyline visible through his window. Maria thought she could outsmart him, but every move she made tightened the noose. He was ready to end this, and she'd walk away with nothing. The morning sun glared over Coral Gables as Donald watched a process server approach his front door. The man, briefcase in hand, rang the bell. Maria answered, her hair tied back, still in pajamas. Maria Alvarez, you've been served, he said, handing her an envelope. She froze, clutching the papers, as the server walked away. Donald, standing in the kitchen, sipped his coffee, his eyes locked on her. She tore open the envelope, scanning the divorce filing, her hands shaking. You're really doing this? She asked, voice cracking. Donald set his mug down. You did this. I'm just making it official. The papers cited infidelity and financial misconduct, backed by evidence of her transfers to Ryan. Maria's gaze darted to the prenup copy he'd given her yesterday, still on the counter. She knew it was airtight. You can't kick me out, she snapped, but her voice lacked conviction. Donald stepped closer. The house is mine. You got until tomorrow to leave. Her eyes narrowed, but she said nothing, storming to the guest room. Donald drove to his office, his phone buzzing with a text from Jake. She's got no case. The judge will side with you. He nodded to himself, parking near Miami's financial district. His private investigator had sent another update. Ryan Carter was dodging creditors, his latest business deal, a scam to fleece investors. Maria was his latest mark. Donald forwarded the details to Jake, adding, make sure she sees this. He wanted her to know exactly who she bet on. Back home, Maria was on the phone, her voice rising in the living room. Ryan, you said the deal was solid, she shouted, unaware Donald had entered. I gave you everything I had. She hung up, slamming the phone down, then noticed him. Eavesdropping now, she hissed. Donald crossed his arms. Sounds like Ryan's not delivering. Shocker. Maria's jaw tightened, but she didn't respond, grabbing her laptop and retreating. He caught a glimpse of her screen. Bank alerts showing declined transactions. The frozen account was hitting hard. That afternoon, Donald met the PI at a diner in Coconut Grove. The investigator slid a folder across the table. Ryan's been at this for years, charming women, draining their accounts, then ghosting. He's got a warrant in Tampa for fraud. Donald flipped through the documents, his anger simmering. Maria had thrown away their life for a con man. Can we use this in court? He asked. The PI nodded. It'll bury her case. Donald pocketed the folder, his plan sharpening. At home, Maria tried a new angle. She knocked on his office door, her tone softer. Donald, can we talk? Maybe we can settle this without lawyers. He didn't look up from his laptop. You mean without you losing everything? No deal. She lingered, then tried again. I made a mistake. Ryan's not what I thought. Donald closed his laptop, meeting her eyes. You figured that out now? Too late. He handed her a printed email from the PI, detailing Ryan's rap sheet. Read up on your boyfriend. Maria's hands trembled as she scanned the page. Ryan's bankruptcies, lawsuits, and arrests. Her face crumpled, but Donald felt no pity. She'd chosen this path. You've got 24 hours to pack, he said, walking out. That evening, he hired a moving company to box up her belongings, scheduling delivery to a storage unit in Doral. He texted Maria the details. Your stuff will be at this address tomorrow. Keys in the mail. She didn't reply, but her pacing footsteps echoed through the house. The next morning, Donald found Maria sitting on the couch, surrounded by half-packed bags. "You really throwing me out?" she asked, her voice low, desperate. He nodded, holding up his phone with the house deed. "Legally, you're trespassing after today." She stood, grabbing a bag, and stormed to the guest room. Donald called Jake. "She's stalling. Can we enforce the eviction?" Jake confirmed. "If she doesn't leave, we'll get a court order." "She's done." Later, Donald overheard Maria on another call with Ryan. "You lied to me," she shouted, her voice breaking. "I'm broke because of you." Silence followed, then a muffled sob. Ryan had hung up. Donald stood in the hallway, unseen, as Maria sank to the floor, clutching her phone. Her empire of lies was collapsing, and he wasn't about to offer a lifeline. He texted the moving company to confirm pickup, ensuring her exit was final. By noon, the movers arrived, loading Maria's boxes into a van. She watched, silent, as her clothes, books, and trinkets disappeared. "Where am I supposed to go?" she muttered, more to herself than to Donald. He handed her a printout of the storage unit address. "That's your problem now." Her eyes flashed with anger, but she took the paper, her shoulders slumping. The movers finished, and Donald locked the door behind them, the click echoing with finality. That night, Jay called with news. Maria's lawyer reached out. She's trying to negotiate a settlement, but they know the prenup's ironclad. She's got nothing. Donald leaned back in his chair, the Miami skyline twinkling outside. Good. Let her face the consequences. He hung up, feeling the tension in his chest ease. Maria had gambled on Ryan and lost. Donald, meanwhile, was rewriting his future, one calculated step at a time, with no intention of looking back. Donald stood in the empty Coral Gables living room, the silence heavy after the movers hauled Maria's belongings to a Doral storage unit. Her absence was tangible, but the divorce wasn't final yet. His phone buzzed with a text from Jake, his lawyer. Maria's lawyer is pushing for mediation. They're desperate. Stay sharp. Donald pocketed the phone, determined to close this chapter. Maria's betrayal had fueled his resolve, and he wasn't about to let her claw back any leverage. That morning, he drove to a South Beach cafe to meet his private investigator. The PI slid a new report across the table. "Ryan Carter's on the move," he said. "He's pitching another scam in Fort Lauderdale, using Maria's name to lure investors." Donald's jaw tightened as he scanned the evidence. Emails where Ryan promised quick returns, falsely claiming Maria's marketing expertise as collateral. "Can we send this to her lawyer?" Donald asked. The PI nodded. "It'll crush her case." Donald emailed the file to Jake, adding, "Use this to shut her down." Back home, a voicemail from Maria waited on his phone. Her voice was strained, almost pleading. "Donald, we need to talk. I know I messed up. Please." He deleted it without responding, his focus on the next step. Jake had scheduled a mediation session for tomorrow, but Donald knew Maria was grasping at straws. Her transfers to Ryan, now linked to his fraud, painted her as complicit. The prenup, combined with this evidence, left her no ground to stand on. That afternoon, Donald met Jake at his downtown Miami office. "She's offering to drop any claims if you give her $10,000 to start over," Jake said, leaning back in his chair. Donald scoffed. "She stole from our account for Ryan. She gets nothing." Jake nodded, flipping through the PI's report. "This fraud angle is damning. If she pushes, we can countersue for financial misconduct." Donald agreed, signing the mediation prep documents. "In it fast," he said, his voice firm. Later, Donald noticed a new email from Maria, sent from a coffee shop Wi-Fi. "I'm sorry, Donald. Ryan used me. I have nowhere to go. Can we meet?" He ignored it, instead calling a locksmith to change the house locks again, ensuring no surprises. Maria's desperation was clear, but her apologies rang hollow. She'd gambled their marriage on a con man, and now her world was imploding. Donald wasn't her safety net. The mediation took place in a sterile conference room, the Miami skyline visible through the window. Maria sat across from Donald, her lawyer fidgeting beside her. She avoided eye contact, clutching a water bottle. "We can settle this quietly," her lawyer began. "Maria agrees to the prenup terms if you provide temporary support." Donald leaned forward, his gaze steady. "She funneled money to a fraudster. I owe her nothing." Jake slid the PI's report across the table, detailing Ryan's scams. Maria's lawyer skimmed it, his face paling. Maria finally spoke, her voice low. I didn't know Ryan was lying. I thought he loved me. Donald didn't flinch. You chose him over our life. Live with it. Her lawyer tried to pivot, suggesting shared assets, but Jake cut in. The prenup's clear. Infidelity voids her claims, and her transfers are theft. We're ready for court. The room fell silent, Maria's shoulders slumping. She signed the divorce agreement, her hand unsteady, conceding everything. That evening, Donald got a call from the PI. Ryan skipped town, left Maria a voicemail saying he's done with her. Donald wasn't surprised. He'd seen Ryan's pattern. Use, discard, repeat. Maria was now broke, jobless, and alone, her marketing career tarnished after a firm caught wind of her involvement with Ryan's schemes. She'd moved to a cramped Hialeah apartment, scraping by on odd jobs. Donald, meanwhile, was free, his assets secure. The next day, he drove to the storage unit to ensure Maria's things were delivered. A clerk confirmed she'd picked up the key, her signature scrawled on the receipt. Donald felt a flicker of closure. He texted Jake, "It's done?" The reply came quickly, sign if filed. "You're free." Donald exhaled, the weight of 6 years lifting fully. Maria's choices had led her to ruin, while he was ready to rebuild. That night, he booked a weekend trip to Key West, craving the open road and ocean air. He signed up for a surfing lesson, something Maria had always mocked as a waste of time. As he packed, his phone lit up with another text from Maria. "I'm sorry. I lost everything." He didn't respond, deleting the message. She'd built her own trap, and he wasn't obligated to pull her out. The future was his, and he was already moving toward it, one deliberate step at a time. Donald parked his car along the overseas highway, the turquoise waters of Key West shimmering under the midday sun. The divorce was finalized, Maria's signature on the papers severing their 6-year marriage. His phone was quiet. No more desperate texts from her, no pleas for forgiveness. He stepped onto the beach, the salty breeze grounding him as he prepared for his first surfing lesson. This trip marked his new beginning, a life unshackled from betrayal. Back in Miami, Maria was navigating her own fallout. Jake, Donald's lawyer, had forwarded a final update. Maria's attempt to appeal the divorce had collapsed. Her lawyer admitted the prenup, and evidence of her financial misconduct left no room to fight. She was now working nights at a Hialeah diner, her marketing career derailed by her association with Ryan's scams. Donald didn't dwell on her fate. She'd chosen her path, and he was done carrying her consequences. His phone buzzed as he waited for the surf instructor. A voicemail from an unknown number. Against his better judgment, he played it. Maria's voice, weary and low, filled the speaker. "Donald, I know you owe me nothing, but I need to say this. I was wrong about Ryan, about us. I'm starting over, and it's hard." She paused, her breath shaky. "I hope you're happy." He deleted the message, unmoved. Her regret couldn't undo the damage. The surf instructor, a tan local named Leo, arrived with a board. "Ready to catch some waves?" he asked, tossing Donald a wetsuit. The lesson was grueling. Falls, wipes, and salt water up his nose, but each attempt felt like reclaiming a piece of himself. Maria had always dismissed his interest in surfing, calling it a childish hobby. Now, riding his first small wave, Donald felt a rush of freedom, the ocean washing away the last traces of their shared past. Back in his hotel that evening, Donald checked his email. Jake had sent a court document confirming the divorce was fully processed. The Coral Gables house, his savings, everything was his, untouched by Maria's schemes. A second email caught his eye, a job offer from a rival firm in Miami, promising a promotion and a hefty raise. He replied immediately, accepting. The betrayal had pushed him to reevaluate, and now opportunities were unfolding. The next day, he wandered Key West Duval Street, the vibrant chaos of tourists and street performers a stark contrast to his old life with Maria. At a beachfront bar, he met Anna, a photographer with a quick laugh and no patience for games. They talked for hours over mojitos, her stories of capturing sunsets sparking his interest in photography. "You should try it," she said, handing him her camera. He snapped a shot of the horizon, feeling a spark of curiosity he hadn't felt in years. Returning to Miami, Donald enrolled in a photography course, his evenings now filled with learning lenses and lighting. Anna joined him for a session, their banter easy and unforced. Unlike Maria, She didn't demand control or hide secrets. Donald's world was expanding. New skills, new connections, a new sense of purpose. He changed his phone number, cutting off Maria's last avenue to reach him, and upgraded the security system at his house, ensuring no surprises. A week later, Jake called with a final piece of news. Maria tried contacting me, asking for a meeting with you. I shut it down. Donald nodded, unsurprised. Anything else? Jake chuckled. She's living with roommates in Hialeah, barely scraping by. Ryan's gone. Rumor is he's dodging cops in Jacksonville. Donald thanked him and hung up, the information confirming what he already knew. Maria's choices had buried her. That night, Donald stood on his balcony, the Miami skyline glowing against the dark. He thought of Maria's voicemail, her admission of failure, but stirred no guilt. She'd gambled their marriage on a fraudster, believing she could outmaneuver him. Instead, she lost her home, her career, her stability. Donald, meanwhile, had protected his assets, rebuilt his life, and found joy in new passions. He booked another trip, this time to the Bahamas, craving more open water and fresh horizons. As he packed, a text from Anna popped up. Got a sunset shoot this weekend. Join me? He smiled, replying, count me in. Maria's world had shrunk to the consequences of her betrayal, while Donald's was growing, each step deliberate and free. He closed his suitcase, the click echoing like a door shutting on the past. Her mistakes were hers to bear. His future was his to shape, and he was already living it.